So we're going to do like we normally do when we're drawing something. We look for simple shapes. So we can start off by drawing a grid, 4 squares across, 4 squares down, and they're about 3.5 centimetres by 2 centimetres.
So we're only taking up half of...
So we're only a bit 4 by 4. Yeah. Hello. So I've just started off these, so about 3.5 centimetres wide, and we need 4 squares, and about 2 centimetres deep. So, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can draw it right here.
Got the last
Sketch it out on our plain paper first, get it right, and then use that to trace it onto watercolour paper.
Sorry, could you repeat the measurement?
So, doing these 3.5 centimetres in width by 2 centimetres down, and we only need 4. And we're going to use watercolour and brusho. So once we've sketched it out, we'll transfer it onto our watercolour paper, and we can get 2 on the sheet.
So each square is 3 centimetres.
3.5.
3.5
3.5
by 2.
by 2, approximately, or like 1.25 inches by 3/4 of an inch. It's only roughly, but we do them even. Obviously, if we're going to do a really big lizard, we would do bigger squares.
Taking back only the houses.
So they're not square, they're rectangle. They don't have to be perfect, you know. You can do it freehand if you're quite accurate at doing things like that, but I find it a bit easier to draw it with a ruler this time. So this is quite a nice shape, this little lizard is, so I thought that would be a nice one to do, and we'll produce that a couple of times. So how are we doing with our... Do they look a bit square?
You say 3.5?
3.5 by 2. Are they okay? They look square. Are they? Perhaps it's just...
Centimetres?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They are
3.5.
3.5 by 2. Is that by 2 centimetres?
No, I've gone bigger there because I put those in first.
They're all rectangles rather than squares. Alright, Claire?
Yeah.
Good. Alright. Okay, right. That's good. That's good. We only need 4, not the whole sheet. 4 by 4. 4 by 4. That's it. 4 by 4. Are you doing it on your copy paper?
Oh.
That's that bit of paper that you're leaning on. Perhaps you can just draw it straight out onto your watercolour paper. So then, looking at, again, simple shapes, so the head will fit into this first top left square. So if you look from your diagram that I've done as well, we'll do that sort of shape for the head. Then about halfway down the second square, it's a bit like the memory game this, isn't it, remembering the path that you've got to take. So top corner of the second line to midway down that third line, and our fourth line to the corner of it. Then we need to come down for the coming down to the tail. So it just helps you to get the proportions a little bit easier by blocking it in, as we've done with the goats and the figures last week. And then we can just soften these edges and make them look a bit more lizard-like. So we've got his back drawn. Then we do the underneath, so we've got where the head comes to, bring that down to the second square, that point there, halfway down about halfway down the third square, and then it's around about halfway down the last square. So then if we look where the legs are, we take the centre of this, so it's like 3 squares in and 2 squares down, that cross point. We do diagonal line across there. Are you still with me? Oh, yeah, hopefully the diagram you've got will just follow in that really. So that's the line where the legs are. Is the line for the tail. And then the front foot is around about here. It looks a bit weird, but it gives us some proportions that we can then add the detail to, and hopefully get those in about the right size. So we can now curve this a little bit more. Put the sort of snout coming round to where the mouth, a bit fatter perhaps on the face. Sticky fingers that they have. Just curve this a little bit, it's not so straight. that. We'll just take a bit more off there. So when you're happy with your sketch, what we can do is we can scribble it and then transfer it onto our watercolour paper. And we're going to do one just in watercolour, and then we're going to do one in brush stroke. So I'm going to put one at the top and one at the bottom. Obviously you could use 2 sheets of paper, but I'm getting me in and just use one. So just go over your lines because it was scribbled on the back now, so it should hopefully come through onto our watercolour paper. Just double check before you take everything away. Tell I've been using brush because all my fingers are stained. Nobody's got any, we've got 1 or 2 light clothes, items of clothing on. Oops. So hopefully that has gone through. I can just about see it. Might need to just adjust that a little bit when I come to redraw it. So I'm going to do same again. They are very dinosaur-like, aren't they? You can see where they've come from. That made his tail a bit thick. I might adjust that once I've got it traced out. I'm doing this twice, save me.
You're doing it twice.
I'm doing one at the top and one at the bottom. Yeah, so we're going to do 2 today. One with watercolour and one with brush stroke and watercolour and perhaps a bit of, well, and pen as well. So I've got my 2 tracings there. I think I just need to adjust them a little bit. Get that eye bulge on there. Make the nose a little bit sharper. And now we've sort of got the basics in, it's much easier to adjust it. I think they've got his tail a bit thick there, so I'll just take a little bit off. Guy in comparison to the body. So I'll draw it out twice, and what I'm going to do is to go in with some ink. So when you're happy with your drawing, same pens as we use last week, so waterproof pens. Oh, this one's running out actually. Just get helps to define the body, pen and ink, so we're not putting a great thick line around it. We're just really, again, showing the outline. This will be important when we do the brusho one, because brusho is very, very strong and it can obliterate your lines. So by having a black pen line, hopefully we'll still be able to see it. Some ink into the eye. That's going to be black. Do the same with the second one. Use your pencil. Yeah, use your pencil. It's only not too much that we need to put on the back. If you've got a softer pencil, that will work better. Just put the eye in, and now what we're going to do is we're going to add some masking. You can see there's quite a lot of white dots, particularly on the sort of the torso, and some bits around the tail, and actually on the legs. So what I'm going to do is masking fluid. So masking fluid does what it think it would do. It masks out, covers up the white, so we can put paint and whatever on, and then we can peel it off when everything's dry. Then we'll get back to the white of the paper. So if you've got any little white bits that you want to keep, and you can use a brush with it, you can use a dip pen. I'm just going to use a little bit of stick because it does ruin your brushes. So all I'm going to do is to use the end of your brush as well, the other end, is to get some into here, put some, that's a bit too pointed, putting some dots of masking fluid on the stomach area. I mean, they are quite ordered, but mine can be a bit more random. Better. Got quite a fine brush, and just stick the other end of it in. Put some dots on. mouth and the eye. Oops, got a big blob in there, never mind. A few dots in there. We'll do the same on the other one as well, because this is going to be the Brusho one. If you put a big blob on like I have then, you can either leave it and just let fate take its course, or you can just peel it off and put another one on. Just have to let that dry.